Hi friends, Jim Sherman here, and I'm at my property on the west side of the state in Michigan, and most of the day's been pretty cold, mostly uneventful, chopped a lot of wood, stuff like that. But the reason I want to talk to you guys is because recently I had the opportunity to go on a Bigfoot expedition with a bunch of paranormal experts. It was cool, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. First off, it started off when my buddy Rich contacted me, and he's from the UPBSRO, which is the Upper Peninsula Bigfoot Sasquatch Research Organization. And he said, hey, I've got this opportunity to go on an expedition in areas that I've been to before. Only this time we were going to bring some ghost hunters and mediums and stuff like that. And I'm like, yes, how cool could that be? And luckily I've gone out, and I've always had a weird fascination with ghosts. I am not going to talk about them right now because I'm here alone. So no thank you. But I have gone out and looked for ghosts before, and it's just kind of a cool thing. That's a barred owl. Doesn't mean it doesn't freak you out. And he's pretty close. But here's the thing. Ghost hunting is just kind of cool. And I have worked with different groups of ghost hunters to try to compare how Bigfooters do research and how ghost hunters do research. And early on, basically everything I thought that I saw, everything I thought I heard and stuff like that, I'm like, listen to this cool howl and things like that. And they're always like, nah, it's just a ghost. And I'm like, okay. Frankly, I would rather it be something big and hairy than a ghost, personally. But here's the deal. We had this opportunity to go up north. And so I drive up there, and I looked at the weather, and I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Maybe we have one good day. And so we were going to go up. I was heading up on Friday, and we were going to leave on Sunday. Well, I'll tell you, I get to this place on Friday. I'm not going to tell you where it is. It's an amazing place. I've been there. Crazy activity before. Creepy, single red-eyed creature of some kind that I've seen. But needless to say, show up. I set up my campsite where I always do, right next to this creek. And because, like, literally we've had expeditions there and have had really weird stuff happen. But when we had the opportunity to meet up with all the other people, and a whole bunch of people, there were BFRO members there. There were members from GRASP, big Grand Rapids. I will put it in whatever it is. They're really, really cool. I feel horrible that I can't remember it right now, but they were really cool people. And we met, oh geez, there was a whole bunch of other people that we met with. I'm not going to use any names. But the greatest part about it was most of the people showed up just as it was starting to get dark. Now, the cool thing is we'd already been out and scouted a couple of areas. We've got nicknames for some of these areas. There's like Ninja Darts, there's Mattress, there's the Ridge, all sorts of different places. And what's cool about it is so because we knew where all this was, we could head out there in the dark, and so that's kind of what we did. We ended up taking a group out, and we had our recorders going, and it was so cool because the ghost hunters had all sorts of different kind of equipment, and a lot of it was, of course, similar too, because they had recording devices as well. But we had the opportunity to talk about some of the other stuff that they use, things like spirit boxes and what have you. And one of the things that I noticed right away is that their radios were set to just Roger beep constantly, and that's something that I just don't do. I make sure that my radios are off most of the time, and sometimes I'll have them hooked to my ears so I can hear and communicate, but it doesn't mess with the woods. The other crazy thing is the fact that I use either no headlamp whatsoever, and sometimes if I'm with other people, I'll use a red headlamp. But I will tell you, the ghost hunters, the moment that there was a noise or anything like that, boom, those white lights would fire up. And that lasted a little while, and then everyone figured out that that's probably not the thing to do in the woods because it really messes with your night vision. But after we figured out how to work together, and we worked together great, everything was cool. I'm not even kidding. It was a heck of a lot of fun. We ended up going to this place called Mattress. And it's called Mattress simply because we found a mattress there. I don't know why, but it's overlooking this river, and no kidding, we've had rocks thrown at us there. I've seen, again, a creepy single red eye that kind of follows you. And not alone, other people have seen it too. But the cool thing was we show up at this area, and I mean, I'd been back there many times. As a matter of fact, there was an episode of Finding Bigfoot that was filmed there. Yeah, I was in it. But the interesting thing was, we get there and we're using night vision, and we have all this cool gear, and the neatest thing happened, and the medium who we had there, who is just really cool, she started to get an interesting feeling, and I wanted to know if it was, was it scary, was it evil, or were we all going to die? But she ended up stating that it seemed like an animal presence, not necessarily nothing bad or negative. It was just a powerful energy. That's kind of cool. And I will, in between me talking, I'm going to see how I videotaped some of it, and so some of it turned out pretty cool. And so you'll be able to see a little bit of what we experienced.
Could you explain what you felt when we first came in? I have you on camera. Is that okay?
Yeah,
I just want to hear this.
I'd say within the last minute, so from when we reached here, within the last minute, there was an energy that got heavier and heavier. And then I got the chills, which is what happens when I'm picking up on an energy. And it's, obviously over here somewhere, but I don't know what it is. It reminds me of that energy we had out here last time, but it could be a deer. But I just know there's energy over here.
Okay.
And it's heavy.
All right.
As we got closer to the water, it got heavy.
Can you ever get I'm just wondering, personally, do you ever get a feeling if it's something that's positive or negative or happy, sad, or any kind of emotion or anything like that? Do you ever get that feeling?
When in this realm or in my paranormal when I'm dealing with human spirits?
Either way, anytime.
Okay, so let me think about that for a minute. With humans, yes.
Okay.
And entities, yes, I can pick up emotions. Ever since I've been in the Bigfoot world, I get confused. I'm like, what is this? Is it Bigfoot? Is it something else? Obviously, the only time I was really convinced was when I did my report.
Okay.
But what is this energy? It doesn't feel negative. It just feels heavy.
Okay.
When you say heavy, as in
thick,
as in thick. Strength, or
heavy as in the closer we got to the water, the more intense it felt.
Okay.
So, one of the cool things that happened while we were out there was, and usually I don't see things. Things happen around me, and I send people to places where cool stuff happens. But one of the things that I actually saw was lights. Now, let me explain. What they seemed like to me was possibly fireflies. There were no fireflies out there because it was way too cold for them. But it kind of looked like that kind of light, and they were on the opposite bank of the river, but you'd see them, and it just looked really cool. I'm still not 100% sure what it was, but other people saw it. I couldn't pick it up on my video camera at all. I just couldn't. But it was really kind of neat. And when those were happening, people said they could feel something. I didn't. I was just excited. It was cool. But while we were sitting there, people were scanning with their night vision and hearing things all around us. But that happens in the woods anyways. It's just kind of it can be kind of spooky, particularly when you're looking for something that's kind of spooky. But I will tell you that we did a couple of knocks. We did a couple of howls, and I'll let you hear some of that. We heard in the very far distance, someone, I believe, heard a knock, they thought. But we heard some what might be howling. Not 100% sure because there are coyotes and wolves up there. But we heard something that was cool. My recorder didn't pick it up very well because it was so far away and there were a lot of us. But I will tell you that that first night, we heard some things and people felt some things, and so it was kind of exciting. And as we were walking back, it started to rain, and that was going to be a feature for the next, I think, 48 hours. So it rained, and it rained a lot, and it was bad enough that I don't mind being in the woods at all, but because I hadn't set everything up because I was so excited to go into the woods, I wasn't about to set my tent up in the horrific rain. So basically, I just moved stuff in the back of the Jeep and slept there poorly that night. But I will tell you, the next day, I spent most of the morning setting up a tarp so that we could have a base of operations. Luckily, other people had tents and screened in areas and stuff like that that we could put over picnic tables, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But the people that were in just tents were miserable. That is when we, however, found some neat new information from two young ladies who came in at about, must have been like between 1 and 2 in the morning or something like that, because we'd gotten in at about midnight. They drove up, and the rain was miserable. But I will tell you that I just heard something behind me. When they pulled in, they opened their door and they heard a whistle, and so they thought it was one of us, trying to get their attention. But none of us knew that they were there. Then they thought they heard some noise around their car, and so they looked around to see if it was anybody, and they didn't see anybody, and it freaked them out so much that they shut their doors and locked them, and they stayed in their car that night. That must not have been very pleasant at all. They were literally super freaked out. But the issue is campsite number 9, which is the one that it was, is creepy. Like, I've been there, and some really creepy stuff has happened. Like you hear someone walking around your tent at night, and things get thrown at your tent, and things get, and not just like a squirrel dropping a nut or something like that, but like legit, and big things get thrown, and so you can hear them through the pines, and so it's freaky and scary, and we didn't tell them about that or the fact any of that, and that was their experience. So that's pretty crazy. What we ended up doing most of that day, it was just horrible. A couple of the guys picked up and they went and got a cabin, which was a smart idea. And then what we did is a handful of us decided to go to a cemetery, which of course you're going to go to old cemetery when you're ghost hunting and things like that. But it was unbelievably cool, and it was in Germfass, or was it somewhere around Germfass? I can't remember exactly where it was itself, but I will tell you, it was amazing to see this cemetery from when the town was established in the 1800s. The history geek in me I was just geeking out, because you could see these tombstones, and you could see where the casket had decayed, and there was a massive depression in the ground. Just cool stuff. Some of the tombstones were wood, some of them were stone, but it was just unbelievable and cool and creepy. At night, it would have been really, really something I wouldn't want to do. but it was just a neat experience. Um, the rest of the day, miserable. It just was, and so just raining. And so we were able to hang out and have fun under tarps, but I don't sit still well, so I got my rain gear on and went for hikes in the woods anyway. Um, but what we ended up doing that night, because we didn't want to go out too far into the woods, we decided that what we would do is we would try to elicit a response from the campground itself. In the past, that's worked. Like you just act like campers and keep your ears open, and things can happen. My uncle, who was on an expedition with us once, took a stick and grabbed a rock and went like that, and it made a loud noise, and he was hitting it into the river, and we got a knock from the woods. That was pretty cool. But so we decided we would put people in my campsite, which sits kind of almost on a peninsula up high, and they'll just sit, talk, have fun. And then we were going to set up one guy all the way far away with night vision and a recorder, and then we would put a couple of the ghost hunters would be at campsite 9, and then my buddy Rich and we would have radios, and we would run back and forth if anything cool was happening. That was because we didn't know where else to go. And so we ended up doing this that night, and it was rainy, so you don't expect anything to happen. And so I didn't hear anything at all. But I will tell you that the group that was in the ghost hunters, who were in campsite 9, they had freaky stuff happen. Apparently, they heard things that were like this, like they kept hearing stomping. That's creepy. And they felt the presence of something. It's a spooky area. So even though it was horribly, horribly raining, we still had a fun night, and they're just, I mean, being up there with my buddies, my Bigfoot hunting buddies, that was fun. But having a group of ghost hunters was just fascinating, because they're so open to everything. I mean, one person was talking about how they thought that the lights that were flickering were like fairies, and I'm like, all right. I mean, I'm looking for big old hairy things, You might be looking for unicorns. It's all the same, really. But it was such a cool deal to be with other interesting, open-minded people, because they wanted to learn what we were doing, and they wanted to, and they really wanted to share what they do. I will tell you that the two guys that were at campsite 9 did mention that they would much rather be in a house ghost hunting than in the middle of the woods looking for Bigfoot. I don't know. I really don't know. Not sure about either of that, but I guess there's like a chance you could outrun a Bigfoot, maybe, like do that kind of stuff or something. Can you outrun a ghost? All right. Is a Bigfoot gonna follow you home? Probably not. Might a ghost? All right. I promised I wasn't going to talk about ghosts, but the end result of this was a great experience. I want to do it again, because it's just fun being with fun, good people. All right. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have a great night. I'm going to sit here next to my fire. It's beautiful and it's quiet. Thanks.